Welcome back to another episode of the Popcorn Theory. And recently I posted a question to the nerd boxes out there asking if Pamela Voorhees knew that Jason was alive while she was on her murdering spree. And what that sparked was a series of discussion on whether she did or didn't. And the most interesting one that kept coming up was the fact that she may have used the Necronomicon to raise him from the dead. So I thought, is that something that's plausible and could have happened? So I started doing some research and I found this awesome fan theory out there on Reddit by Spikes Mountain Dew, where it offers up some compelling framework in understanding the complex relationship between Pamela and Jason. This theory suggested that Pamela used the dark powers of the Necronomicon to resurrect her son, and it introduces a supernatural element that aligns with the franchise's later installments while providing us with a logical explanation for Jason's extraordinary abilities. Now let's dive deeper into this theory and explore its potential implications. The Necronomicon has turned up in two films that aren't in the Evil Dead franchise. The first being Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday in 1993, and the second one being Candyman in 2021. Yes, you may have missed it, but I caught it when looking at that art gallery and seeing the paintings of the Necronomicon on the wall. Now, something that we have to factor into this theory is that Freddy Krueger's glove shows up in Evil Dead 2, and then eventually we have Freddy vs. Jason on screen. Now, if we wanted to go a little bit deeper into the lore, we could also include the comic book stories where we get Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, but we're going to leave that out for this theory. So, it's pretty much safe to say that based on the cinematic elements that we've discussed already, these three franchises are loosely connected in one universe. But what is the Necronomicon? The Necronomicon Ex Mortis, often referred to as the Book of the Dead, has cast a long, dark shadow over the world of horror. Its origins are shrouded in myth and terror, dating back to a time before recorded history. While the original text remains a mystery, it's clear that the book contains a unique power and malevolence. Its cover, adorned with grotesque, writhing flesh, is a testament to its unnatural nature. The author of the Necronomicon is Ruby, a seemingly human who is, in fact, one of the Dark Ones, an ancient race of beings existing outside of the boundaries of humanity and demonkind, which was explored in Ash vs. the Evil Dead TV series. Now, while the Necronomicon has been responsible for countless deaths and the rise of the undead in a possessed form, it is not a singular entity. Army of Darkness introduced the concept of multiple Necronomicons, a notion expanded upon in Evil Dead Rise.
I would like to present what I believe to be one of the three fabled volumes of Naturum de Monta, the Book of the Dead. I seek church approval to translate the spiritual mysteries its pages undoubtedly hold.
Destroy it! It's called the Book of the Dead for a reason!
These books, while sharing a common, malevolent core, may possess distinct characteristics and abilities far greater than previously imagined. The implications to multiple Necronomicons are staggering, and it means that the evil they unleash is not contained to a single artifact, but could be spread across the globe, potentially leading to a cataclysmic event. Each book could be a key that unlocks a different facet of the Dark One's power, bringing about a new era of terror for humanity. However, the history of the book in cinema and literature dates back before The Evil Dead, and it was first mentioned in H.P. Lovecraft's 1924 story, The Hound, which was written in 1922. One of the passages in that book is about Namtulaku, who has the ability to raise the dead. And with 2 of the 3 books turning up in cabins in the woods, one being in 1981 and the other being in 2013, it's easy to see there's a chance that Pamela Voorhees may have come across one of the 2 copies between the death and resurrection of Jason. Born on an ominous June 13, 1947 in a secluded town of Crystal Lake, Jason Voorhees was a child marked by tragedy. Severely deformed and possibly mentally disabled, he lived a sheltered existence. Isolated from the world, safe in his mother's care, his otherworldly appearance set him apart, making him an easy target for cruelties of childhood. During the summer of 1957, his mother's employment at Camp Crystal Lake provided a brief escape from their secluded life. However, the idyllic setting transformed into a personal hell as campmates subjected the defenseless Jason to relentless torment. Their mockery reached a horrific climax when they drove him into the icy waters of Crystal Lake, where he met a watery grave and propelling Pamela Voorhees into a darkness.
Killer! Don't let her get away, Mommy. Don't let her live. I won't, Jason. I won't.
Now, one of 2 things could have happened next. Pamela Voorhees could have been familiar with the writings of H.P. Lovecraft and the Necronomicon, and she could have heard rumors that the book was actually real and had the ability to raise the dead. The other option is that her maternal love for Jason, no doubt profound, caused her grief and desperation to become an obsession where she sank into the shadows of the world in search of answers for what happened, and that's where she discovered the Necronomicon. With its promises of control over life and death, it may have presented itself as a solution for her unbearable loss. And then over time, having become a practitioner of dark magic after finding the book, Pamela would return to the camp a year later, and instead of merely seeking revenge for her son's death, she used the book in a ritualistic act by sacrificing 2 camp counselors and providing the necessary life force to fuel the resurrection spell. This dark pact would forever bind Jason and his mother to the desolate campgrounds, and rather than a simple maternal bond, their relationship becomes a more complex one, rooted in a supernatural connection. For starters, this explains Jason often reverting to a childlike form as a result of a side effect of the resurrection spell. The dark magic used to bring him back to life has left a psychological or metaphysical scar on him, and in the moments of extreme fear, such as the loss of his mother or the excruciating pain inflicted by toxic waste, triggers a regression to a state of vulnerability mirroring the time before his tragic drowning. This is also why we see Freddy exploit his fears so easily in Freddy vs. Jason. But this wasn't the only effect it had on Jason. After his resurrection, Pamela would go on to raise him in an abandoned cabin near Camp Crystal Lake, and would soon notice that this wasn't the same boy that she had loved. Given the Necronomicon's reputation for creating monstrous entities, Jason had the traits that far surpassed those of a normal human: extraordinary strength, resilience, and a strange obsession with dead things. Over the years, to keep Jason a secret from the outside world, Pamela would attack anyone who came close to the campgrounds, including poisoning the water in 1962 when they first attempted to reopen Camp Crystal Lake, which then caused locals to refer to the camp as being cursed and nicknaming it Camp Blood. Only in 1980, Pamela wasn't killing alone anymore. She was utilizing Jason's newfound abilities to her advantage. Now, as we fast forward to when Steve Christie is beginning his project to reopen the camp, Jason would have likely been involved in those killings alongside his mother in the first Friday the 13th film, because it explains the strength and inexplicable feats on display, such as that masculine hand that grabs Jack, and the incredible force required to impale him with an arrow through the mattress. and also the physicality of hurling bodies through windows. And in our final act, when Pamela meets Alice and she tells her the story of her son and what happened to him and attempts to kill her only to have the tables turned on her, Pamela's death would be the trigger for Jason's transformation over the next several films into a hulking, rotting deadite. See, Pamela was likely still in possession of the Necronomicon at the time of her death, and was using its dark magic to keep Jason in a human-like state. This would also explain the healing ability that Jason had at the end of Friday the 13th Part 2. When Ginny confronts Jason, she drives her machete through Jason's shoulder blade, which should have caused Jason to have limited mobility in his left arm. But when he jumps through the window at the end of the film, he's able to raise his arm with ease. Now, if we add up all the clues surrounding the Necronomicon, its appearance in Jason Goes to Hell, the ability for it to raise the dead, 2 of the books being found in cabins, Pamela's attempts to keep the camp closed, a second killer in 1980, Jason's transformation from his human-like state into a more deadite state after Pamela's death, his strength, it's pretty plausible to say that Pamela used the Necronomicon to raise Jason from the dead. And I tend to believe that this theory is true because it fills in a lot of plot holes that we have with the continuity of this franchise, including Jason slowly rotting away into his final form that we see in Jason Goes to Hell. Now, as always, I will leave it up to you to decide, so let's continue that conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like on this video. If you like some Nerdbox inspired merch by you and discussions that we had in Scream, there will be a link in the description. And as always, to the next Popcorn Theory, see ya.